yet. As far west as there, as far east as New Orleans. So that's what we're currently looking at as far as the cone is concerned. There are still tropical alerts in effect here for southeastern Louisiana. In fact, most recently, we got hurricane watches now in effect for the metro, portions of the North Shore, river parishes, and we also have hurricane warnings back to the west across portions, Terrebonne, Lafourche Parish, all included in that hurricane warning there. Flood alerts in effect all for southeastern Louisiana. To be more specific, it's that flood watch. This is going to go into effect until Thursday morning. Today, the flooding risk, not too bad. We're just looking at anywhere between level 1 to level 2 risk here, but it does pick up, though, in intensity for the flooding threat heading into the day tomorrow. All of southeastern Louisiana under that level 3 moderate risk of flooding. And it's because we're looking at anywhere between that 5 to 10 inch mark here over the next couple of days, over the next 2 to 3 days, rather, with some isolated totals even higher than that in some spots. So let's take you through the computer data, and you'll see as we head into overnight tonight, still positioned to our south and west. We here, on the other hand, are looking at very wet and rainy conditions, and you can see as we head into 6 p.m. tomorrow evening, that's when the center is expected to come ashore here across south central Louisiana before lifting towards the northeast and away from us as it continues to move towards the north over Mississippi as we head into Thursday. So let's talk about this here a little bit more closely, a more close-up version of this. Just overall, off and on rain bands, some of them heavy at times as they continue throughout today through tonight, and also as we head into tomorrow morning, still looking at some heavy rainfall that will continue to move on shore from the Gulf as that system moves through. Here's 11 a.m. on Wednesday tomorrow, off and on heavy rain, and it's really going to be very heavy with some flooding possible associated with some of these higher or heavier bands that move in by Wednesday afternoon. There you can see the center moving on shore, very close to Galliano and Homa, Very heavy rain continues to spread across the North Shore and also portions of the New Orleans metro by 6 p.m. as that center moves ashore. And you can see some models very close here to New Orleans over Lake Pontchartrain as we head into Wednesday night. Now that's when the conditions improve by early Thursday morning as the system, again, moves towards the northeast. Then we're on the backside, much drier side, calmer weather condition side there as well. Let's talk about the wind field, though. What are we looking at in terms of winds here? As the system gets closer, we're start to see some of the tropical storm force winds begin to touch the coastline by Wednesday morning around 11 o'clock. And then as it inches further inland, those tropical storm force winds get closer towards the New Orleans metro, and eventually it starts to spread all across southeastern Louisiana. So that's when all of us will be under tropical storm conditions starting Wednesday evening, roughly around 6 to 7 o'clock. Meanwhile, the hurricane conditions, hurricane force winds, are going to be mainly positioned west here. Looks like closer towards Morgan City based on that latest forecast track. River parishes, though, could be looking at some hurricane-like conditions here as we head into tomorrow evening. And then as the center continues, or as the system rather continues to move north, again, still encompassed under those tropical storm force wind gusts at times as we head into Thursday morning, and eventually it should be out of here later in the day Thursday. But we still also have storm surge watches and warnings for southeastern Louisiana. And that's because of that very strong onshore wind that is going to be funneling in the surge here. We could be looking at 4 to 7 feet here near Grand Isle, 3 to 5 inches coastal Mississippi and points west, and also 3 to 5 perhaps here of feet of storm surge for Lake Pontchartrain, Lake Murpott area as well. So after we get through Francine tomorrow, we dry out Thursday through Saturday. Those temperatures will be into the mid to upper 80s, a little bit warm, maybe slightly humid for the recovery efforts. And then we are also going to be looking at some rain chances coming up Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday with those highs still into those mid to upper 80s.
All right, Derek, thank you. Everybody in New Orleans certainly watching with greater intensity as that storm takes a little tick to the east.
Yeah, I got an update here, too. They just tweeted it out that the website that the Sewage and Water Board has that is interfacing is now back up and running. That's according to the New Orleans City Council Committee. It was down earlier today, so you can go and see if the pumps are working and everything you need to know, because that website the Sewage and Water Board has that went down is now back up and running.
A couple more notes just about Orleans Parish. Mayor Cantrell says that City Hall will be closed on Wednesday and Thursday, just out of an abundance of caution. So if you have any city business, you can't do it now until Friday. All right, we do have reporters out and about throughout this area.
Yeah, let's get to Jonah Gilmore. He is live in Mid-City. Jonah, people in New Orleans have been told to shelter in place, and we hope a lot of people are starting to do that tonight.
Well, Yeah, Travis, Gina, a lot of people are starting to shelter in place. We've been driving around the city of New Orleans all day, just getting a glimpse of what the areas are like here. We're now in Mid-City, and just behind me, this may look like a parking lot, but people are parking their vehicles on the neutral ground. We know that neutral ground parking is allowed right now. So people are watching, and they're heeding all of the warnings. I know you said that Sewage and Water Board interface is back up and running. A lot of people are going to be looking toward that as this rain comes down and the streets begin to flood. Now, we're on Normandy, Francis, in Mid-City, an area that's known to flood, and we actually saw someone parking their vehicle on a neutral ground. Christian, you're here with us. I mean, what was your biggest concern? We just saw you parking your car here.
Well, just on regular rainy days, our street floods pretty easily, so we wasn't taking any chances, so just decided to park on the neutral ground like everyone else.
I know, and you said you just moved back to New Orleans from New York. I mean, what did your neighbors tell you about the area that had you so concerned?
They just said it floods really easily, so to get the apps on our phone to let us know that it's okay to park on the neutral ground. So we got the message, so we immediately just came over here to get a good spot before everyone else came over here.
And I know right now there's a shelter-in-place order right now. Did you get everything you need to do to ride, or get everything you need to get to ride out this storm?
I think we got enough. Yeah, it was a close call. We went to Home Depot and Walgreens this morning, but I think we got what we needed.
Gotcha. Thank you so much, Christian, for your time. I really appreciate it. But Gina, Travers, in this 3-block stretch here on Normandy, Francis, we've counted at least 50 cars already on the neutral ground. We've seen people constantly bringing their cars up here, just trying to prepare early, avoid the flooding. We know that a lot of areas in the city of New Orleans, this area, Normandy, Francis, we know that the Carrollton underpass normally floods. We know on McCorney, that's McCorney Drive by City Park, that area is known to flood. Driving around the area, people are just trying to avoid those areas that are known to flood and just get to higher ground ahead of all of this weather we're expected to see coming into the city of New Orleans. We're going to toss things back to you in studio. Reporting live in Mid-City, Jonah Gilmore, WDSU News.
All right, Jonah Gilmore in Orleans Parish. We have crews all across Southeast Louisiana. We will check in with them coming up in a few minutes.
Yeah, until then, let's turn it over right now. We'll take a commercial break, and like Gina said, we'll get back to some areas like Lafourche and Venice right after the break. And the time to prepare is now, right now.
That's right. We just heard from Jefferson Parish leaders not too long ago. We know as of yesterday, they had issued evacuation orders for lower parts of Jefferson Parish, like Grand Isle. That's where we find WDSU's Sharif Ishak with the latest there. Sharif.
Yeah, Gina, Travers, it's fairly quiet right now in Grand Isle. I've only seen 1 or 2 cars on LA1 driving out right now. So we have not seen much rain. When we first checked in with you, we were on the bridge on LA1 coming to Grand Isle. It was an absolute downpour. Now it's barely drizzling out here. We'll give you a look through the roof camera. And as you can see, just a little bit of rain on the camera. That's just leftover rain from earlier. So there's really not much going on. We'll use the camera. We'll wiggle it a little bit to your left and right just to give you a look at some of the bayous and lakes. It's kind of calm right now, as they would say, probably the calm before the storm. Not much going on in the vicinity when it comes to all the lakes and bayous as we keep working the magic here. First time in here. Wonderful Storm Patrol 6. And yeah, it is quiet right now on the road, which is kind of, what Mayor Dave Carmodel and Sheriff Fernandez, they wanted. They didn't want many, Chief of Police, Sheriff Fernandez, they didn't want many people out on the roads. They wanted people either to just evacuate like they're supposed to, or just hunker down. They said that few people would just stay in Grand Isle, which is not a surprise. We've seen it before. We've seen it in the past where people stay. He said, if you don't want to leave and you want a place to stay, you want to evacuate anywhere in Grand Isle, you can go to the multiplex. They are going to have a lot of people working there. The police department will be out and about. The fire department will be out and about during the storm and after the storm. And if anyone needs help, and hopefully they don't have to resort to that situation, they said they'd be out around to help anyone who is stranded. They just don't want that to be the last case resort. They do not want people out there just hanging out during during Francine once it becomes a hurricane and once it makes landfall. They do not want to have those issues, those problems. They don't want to have to rescue anyone, but they will be fully staffed and make sure that, if there is a problem, they can try to take care of it. But for now, we are driving on LA1. As you can see, it is quite quiet. And I think that's probably what Mayor Carmodel would love to see, keeping it quiet and everyone evacuating. We saw a lot of that happening about 3 hours ago when we made our way down here on the island. We are trying to make our way to Lafourche Parish right now to go catch up with Parish President Archie Chasson to see how everything is going in Lafourche Parish. So that's going to be our next stop as you get one more look as me and photojournalist Alva Moore continue making the drive here on LA1 near Grand Isle as we make a ride all the way to Lafourche Parish. Back to you.
Yeah, really quickly, Sharif, while we have you, we're going to get to Ariel Brumfield in just 1 second. You talked about Lafourche and Archie Chasson. The low-lying parts of Lafourche could take a hard hit here. What is he telling you about evacuations or possible curfews in Lafourche while we have you? Because I know you spoke to him on the phone.
Yeah, he said that he didn't believe a lot of people were going to leave because they've been through many of storms like we have been throughout years. And he's they're just buttoning some things up. And he thinks that some people would leave. And I've not heard anything of any curfew. When we get over there to talk to him, we're going to ask him about curfews and evacuations in terms of Lafourche Parish and what he wants to see from his residents as as Francine makes its way on shore. So we're going to get a chance to talk to him in the next hour and a half or so.
All right, Sharif, thank you. Now we want to make our way to Lower Plaquemines Parish. I'm talking about low, the tip of the boot. It's like Venice and then the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah, there's nothing else beyond that. That's where Ariel Brumfield is standing by live right now.
Hey, you guys. Yes, we are in Venice right now. We made it down and we ran into Bill Butler. He is the manager here at the Venice Marina. And like we saw in Empire, everything was closed down for the boats around 2 o'clock. But Bill says he's actually going to stay put this afternoon into the night just to make sure no one's doing anything that they're not supposed to do. Talk to me about what we're expecting for tonight.
I think you're just going to have a little storms and rain and what forth. Got some local fishermen, some commercial guys staying on the boats here, checking on their boats. Most of the people's already picked up all their boats already. So everybody's pretty much on par, and we're just going to hunker down tomorrow when it gets a little bad, move up in the store. And got big generators, lots of food and some lots of water and whatnot. But I think we're going to be all right. When the storm passes in New Orleans, I think it's going southwest wind. We'll get a little water down here. But other than that, I think we'll be pretty good down here in Venice.
And Bill, when we came down, we complimented the area, and you actually told us that this was remodeled after Hurricane Ida. It withstood a lot of damage, but you don't think you'll have much damage this time around?
No, I hope not. Probably some loose tin and stuff like that. I anticipate, some 50, 60 mile an hour winds down this part of the way. But other than that, I think we'll be pretty fortunate compared to what we've had in over the years.
Now, I'm going to put you on the spot because you're talking about winds, but you told me you plan on barbecuing out here tomorrow.
I do. Well, where how the marina sits, it's going to be a southwest wind tomorrow. So I'm going to barbecue some chickens and stuff tomorrow afternoon whenever. Yes.
And last question for you. When are you expecting things to open back up for the folks out here?
We scheduled to open back up Thursday. This is going to pass pretty quick. And I anticipate all the storm winds and stuff will be out by Friday. So people will be riding the passes right out to Marina catching redfish and stuff by Friday.
Okay, well, I hope you enjoy your stay. And if we're back here, I'm going to stop by for a plate of barbecue.
Please, have a good.
I'm going to send it back to you guys.
Yeah, that's a brave.
Barbecue is the best kind.
And I'll tell you what, he's brave staying down there the whole time in Venice. I mean, look, I know this isn't going to be Katrina or Ida, but still, it's going to get a little rocky down there.
Certainly. Somebody got to manage the marina out there, though. Let's check in from Plaquemines now. Let's head to St. Tammany Parish.
Yeah, Shawanda Jones is standing by live. She's been all over the area, sandbag locations, but a big concern, as always, in Mandeville is storm surge coming up from Lake Pontchartrain. We've all seen it, Shawanda. It gets a little rough on parts of Old Mandeville when the floodwater comes up.
You're exactly right, Travers. And right here, I'm at the Mandeville Harbor. And the reason why I brought you guys to a different location is because I want to show you around a little bit. We're at the marina portion, and it's absolutely empty. Like, there are 2 boats here, and it's looking a lot like a lot of marinas across the North Shore. People have gotten their boats, they've gotten their property to get them in a safe location. And for people who live on the North Shore like I do, I know you've gotten those alerts, those storm surge alerts from the National Weather Service saying that we are under a storm surge warning. So what that means is we are expecting a couple of feet of water to literally be covering this by tomorrow. Let's take a look at St. Tammany President Mike Cooper and see what he had to say.
We're expecting about a 2 to 4 foot storm surge, which will ultimately cause riverine flooding. And when the rivers back up and when we have heavy rains, that's the recipe for water standing in your ditches, your roads, and in your yards in many cases.
Yeah, and that's just producing unsafe conditions. So we have a lot of people that are out here. They're still sightseeing. Some are fishing. Tomorrow is not the time to be out here. These are going to be very, very dangerous road conditions, especially just here out at a marina in general. We are urging everyone to stay inside and shelter in place. Like President Cooper said, after midnight tonight, you have the rest of the night to prepare. Sometime in the morning, the sandbag stations will stay open until weather no longer permits them being open. Until then, we're going to keep checking this weather out. We're going to keep updating you along the way. Live from St. Tammany, I'm Shawanda Jones, WDSU News.
All right, Shawanda, thank you. We talk about a lot of the preps that people do ahead of the storm, but after the storm, in the aftermath, when you see a lot of power outages, we've heard parish leaders say that's when unanticipated dangers can happen.
Yeah, let's take a listen. We talked to Senator Bill Cassidy and what he has to say about what happens after the storm and why you still have to be weather aware.
Okay, right now I'm walking to a vote in Washington, and the weather's prettier here than it's going to be back home. Just a word of advice for people who will be running generators: have it in a space like this, which is to say, have it outdoors. Do not put it in your house.
It's good advice. Look, you heard Cynthia Lee Shang talk about this, that a lot of the deaths that happened after Ida in Jefferson Parish were not storm related. They were after the fact. And a lot of those, unfortunately and tragically, were carbon monoxide related. People putting generators in the wrong spot or having faulty generators. You can't be careful enough when you're dealing with the generator. Make sure that you follow all safety precautions like Senator Cassidy said, and just go out and monitor it and watch it just to make sure that everything is working properly.
Can't heed those warnings enough. Also, New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell, she took to X, sending a message to the people of New Orleans. Let's take a listen.
We will be sheltering in place, so be prepared to hunker down. Get everything in order. Check on your neighbors, of course, your family members and your pets. But now is the time. Text NOLA ready, all one word, to 77295. That will give you the real-time updates specifically from the city of New Orleans. Thank you so much. I love you, and we're stronger together. This is not our first rodeo. We know how to take care of one another, but guess what? Now is the time. Let's do it.
Mayor Cantrell out there in the elements giving you an update in the rain as we saw some rain move throughout the city earlier.
And look, just to reiterate this, if you're watching in New Orleans, it's a shelter-in-place situation. They're not calling for any kind of evacuations. That includes low-lying areas like Lake Catherine, Venetian Isles, and Irish Bayou. They're just urging that you stay home, hunker down, and we'll all ride this thing out. And hopefully on Thursday, everybody will be fine.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. Our coverage of Tropical Storm Francine continues when we come back.
We've got flames. We've got